Us here today. I wish we were not here. Moments ago, the North Carolina Senate just announced to pass Senate Bill 50, a dangerous permitless concealed carry legislation. Our North Carolina Democratic senators fought for 2 hours on the House floor just now. We have some of them with us here today. This is terrifying, and we need to take steps and actions. We are here today, united across the North Carolina Senate and House Democratic caucuses to adamantly speak out against the dangerous permitless concealed carry bills being fast-tracked through our chambers by reckless Republican legislators. They have rushed this through because they know if they actually took the time to hear from law enforcement, gun violence survivors, domestic violence victims, and our constituents at large, that it would become blatantly clear that the majority of North Carolinians do not want this. The Republican bill sponsors claim that the public wants this passed. That is incorrect. 77% of people support laws requiring concealed carry permits. 77% of us, the majority of our constituents. The Republican bill sponsors state that crime has gone down in the majority of states that implemented permitless concealed carry. That is incorrect. 16 states that enacted permitless carry between 2015 and 2022 saw higher shooting death rates after implementation. The Republican bill sponsors claim that our Second Amendment right is absolute. That is incorrect. No right is absolute. We put safety measures in place so that one person's rights do not supersede the right of another. First Amendment right to speech is restricted to protect us from slander and libel. 14th, 15th, and 19th Amendment, recognizing our right to vote, is restricted for felons. And no other right, frankly, has the potential to kill another person. The Republican bill sponsors say that the permitting process is complicated and the wait is too long. That is incorrect. It is oftentimes faster to get a concealed carry permit than it is to get a driver's license at the DMV. Instead of dismantling the process, we are happy to work across the aisle to expedite and streamline this process. Senator Bradley just introduced an amendment in real time on the Senate floor to this very issue that was sidelined by the Republican majority party. The Republican bill sponsors say that the permit process is too expensive and a burden on gun owners. That is incorrect. $80 is not a burden compared to the price of a gun and the ammo itself. Make no mistake, these dangerous bills will kill people. They put our law enforcement officers in danger trying to depict in real time a good guy with a gun from a bad guy with a gun. They put our innocent children in danger while picking out a new favorite toy in Target or watching the latest Disney movie at the local movie theater. They put our teenagers in danger driving down the road exposed to road rage. They put our families in danger while watching a local holiday parade, just as the many families at the Kansas City parade who endured the horrific shooting that happened with a concealed weapon. We do not want this. Police officers do not want this. Gun violence survivors do not want this. North Carolinians at large do not want this. Stop weakening our gun safety laws and putting our lives at risk. Democratic legislators are working on common sense, proactive, and preventable measures to reduce gun violence, such as increasing secure storage, introducing red flag laws, and reducing gun theft from automobiles, all fact-based, proven concepts to keep our communities safe. We look forward to working on legislation that the majority of our constituents actually want and our society at large actually needs. Today, we have quickly scrambled together a multitude of speakers to speak against these deadly bills. We have had less than 24 hours to prepare this due to the insane timeline the Republican bill sponsors have rushed these deadly bills through our system. I'm deeply grateful to all the speakers that have taken time out of our day to be with us today. All of us fully well knowing that lives are at risk. First of all, I'd like to introduce Sophia Chitlick, who just came off the Senate floor. Thank you so much, Sophia.
Thank you. I want to thank Representative Clark for her leadership on this issue, and also my colleagues for standing united, and most importantly, advocates, people in our community who have been standing up to gun violence and saying no, no, enough, not one more, for years and for decades. This is a particularly acute challenge in the community that I represent in Durham, North Carolina. We are facing a gun violence epidemic, and people in my community are clear. We want fewer guns and not more. We want more stringent restrictions about who gets guns, not to absolutely eliminate them. You know, I found myself thinking when we were in the chamber today how different it would be if our state Senate was run by moms. It's true. I don't think we would have been having that debate. You can see the anguish in the faces of my colleagues because we feel it and we experience it differently. Not one more is not some kind of abstract phrase for us. We feel the empathy and the agony of the parents in our community, in our state, that are bearing children every day, loved ones every day, to gun violence. Just a few weeks ago, we had a father in my community gunned down while he was driving Uber. You know, this is something that is happening all of the time. And all we are saying is stop. We're not asking for more stringent gun laws even. We're just saying don't take away the flimsy guardrails we already have. If you want to get a concealed carry permit in the state, it's actually pretty easy. You wouldn't have known it listening to that, but it's extraordinarily easy. And we know it's extraordinarily easy because permits went up threefold in 10 years. So it would seem to me that the data indicates we don't have a problem here. The data does indicate that in the dozens of states that have instituted permitless carry, that we have a big problem, that we have massive, massive jumps in homicides, in suicides, up to 40% in places like West Virginia. So I don't know about you, but I want less dead kids, less dead veterans, less dead friends and neighbors. I don't want more. That is not what our constituents sent us here to do. And look, I'm angry and I'm disappointed because the people that I've come to know in this body are smart and they're kind and they're data driven. And they ignored themselves today in the way that they voted because we know that their hearts aren't even in this bill. This is a political messaging bill backed by the gun lobby at our expense, at the expense of North Carolinians, their lives, and their futures. We're never going to stop standing up to this nonsense. It's really a disappointment that we have to, but we won't give up. The best thing that we can do right now is make sure that our public and our colleagues, quite frankly, really know the truth. That's why I passed out data-driven reports by economists who have dedicated their entire lives to studying the impacts of gun violence. They cannot say that they didn't know, and neither can we. And that's why we do this work. It's why many of us ran for office, because we have kids to protect in schools and on streets and on buses and in our communities. And we absolutely will not stop until they are safe. And it's my privilege to introduce Representative Julia Greenfield, a nurse who has seen the impacts of gun violence in our communities.
Thank you. It is my honor to be here today, although I'm sad that I have to be here and speak about this topic, which I believe should have been rectified a long time ago. As a state legislature and former emergency medicine and trauma nurse, I am deeply concerned about the potential passage of, well, it just passed, of North Carolina Senate Bill 5, which irresponsibly lowers the concealed carry age from 21 years to 18 years and removes critical requirements for permits and training. This law jeopardizes public safety and the well-being of our communities. As a healthcare professional, I have sadly witnessed firsthand the devastating consequences of gun violence, the trauma that victims of gun violence endure physically, emotionally, and mentally. Lowering the concealed carry age and removing the requirements for permits and training means more unqualified individuals will carry weapons into our schools, businesses, and neighborhoods. Study after study have shown that in particular young men do not have a fully developed frontal lobe, which is the part of the brain that controls or regulates our emotions until the age of 25. So this is truly not just a policy issue, it is a matter of life and death. In addition to not lowering the age to conceal carry, requiring a permit and training are essential to ensure that individuals understand the serious responsibility of carrying a firearm. It is not just about knowing how to use a gun. It is about understanding the laws, making responsible decisions, and ensuring that firearms are only used in appropriate, lawful situations. Without these safeguards, we are putting everyone at risk. In my role as a legislator, I will continue to fight against measures like Senate Bill 5 that undermine the safety of our communities. We need stronger gun safety laws, not weaker ones. It is our duty to protect our children, our families, and our communities from the preventable tragedy of gun violence. I urge my fellow legislators to reconsider this dangerous law and prioritize the safety of all North Carolinians. And now I would like to introduce Gerald Givens Jr., CEO of Raleigh Boots on the Ground.
Good afternoon. I served 20 years in the United States Air Force. And during that time, I've lost 8 family members to gun violence. I also served on the board of directors of North Carolinians Against Gun Violence, where we work every day to prevent the senseless tragedies and advocate for policies that save lives. I know firsthand what responsible firearm training is all about. In the military, before ever carrying a weapon, we have to complete comprehensive training. We're taught the fundamentals of gun safety, how to handle a firearm responsibly, assess our environment, and storing weapons securely. I carried an M16, an M4, and a 9mm. This wasn't just a formality. It was necessity for safety. SB50 will strip away these basic common sense protections for civilians. This bill will allow people to carry concealed handguns without a permit, without training, and without a background check. It eliminates a system that has helped keep guns out of dangerous hands. This bill, it isn't about responsible gun ownership. It's about recklessness. When you remove guardrails, tragedies increase. We've seen in states that pass similar laws, officer-involved shootings rise, violent crime increases, and more lives are lost. I stand here today as someone who has lost 8 family members to gun violence. That means 8 empty chairs at every holiday tradition. That means 8 lives that should be here right now. Instead of focusing on preventing, SB50 will only make it easier for handguns to get into people's hands who shouldn't have these guns. States that lost the training requirement to obtain a concealed carry weapon permit experienced a 32% increase in gun assault rates. Removal of North Carolina's concealed carry weapon training requirement is a threat to public safety. We should be strengthening public safety, not dismantling it. And we should be ensuring that everyone who carries a deadly weapon in public is trained to do so safely. North Carolina, that's just the bare minimum. Instead, SB50 chooses political convenience over public safety. This bill is not just dangerous, it's irresponsible. I urge every legislator to vote no on this bill. I urge every North Carolinian to let their voices be heard before any other family have to suffer the loss that mine has. In my organization, Raleigh Boots on the Ground, we have a saying: freedom requires safety. If we can't be safe, it's impossible for us to be free. We must protect lives. We must protect communities. Vote no on this bill.
Good afternoon. My name is Ashley Jew, and as a student at UNC Chapel Hill, where a professor was tragically killed in his classroom by a gun, and as a board of directors member of North Carolinians Against Gun Violence Action Fund, I stand here today deeply concerned about the permitless concealed carry bill. This bill is a threat to the safety and well-being of every person in this state. Under this bill, people as young as 18 with no training and no background check can legally carry a concealed weapon in public. The consequences of this bill cannot be overstated. Importantly, the change to lowering the minimum wage to 18 is reckless. Think back to when you were 18. Many are still in high school, just entering college, barely out of adolescence. Most 18-year-olds are not fully equipped to handle the responsibilities of carrying a deadly weapon. If the law doesn't allow an 18-year-old to legally purchase a beer, why should they be allowed to carry a loaded gun in public with no training and no background checks? The risk is too great, and the facts back this. Weakening or removing concealed carry weapon permits is associated with a 29% increase in firearm violent crime rates. In the years after West Virginia passed a permitless concealed carry law, firearm homicides skyrocketed by 48%. Importantly, the age requirement of North Carolina's current law is imperative in preventing suicide among younger people. In Missouri, after they lowered the age to 19 for concealed carry, firearm suicides among young adults rose by 7.2%. For those of us who experience gun violence firsthand, or know someone who has, like the shooting at UNC and countless others, we understand how quickly guns can fall into the wrong hands. This bill will make that tragedy more likely by allowing young, untrained, and dangerous individuals to carry guns in public. The overwhelming majority of people in this country oppose permitless carry laws. So I ask our lawmakers, why support a bill that your constituents, your neighbors, your communities do not want? Why put the safety of our state at risk for political gain? I implore you to reject this dangerous bill, stand with your communities, and let's not make the mistakes that other states have made. Thank you. And I'd like to introduce John Jericho.
Good afternoon. My name is John Jarecki, and I am a retired police officer of 35 years and a former school board member of 16 years. And I've handled shootings in our communities. I've handled suicides on campuses and the surrounding areas of our high schools. I have delivered death messages to parents to advise them that their child was killed by gun violence. And I've waited in for surgery recovery for the spent projectiles from victims. I've heard that the argument that 18-year-olds who serve in the military, carry guns and fight for our country and die for our country, that they should be allowed to do the same in civilian life. But the military operations they operate under strict restrictions and training designed for the specific purpose of national defense and military operations, none of which applies to civilian life, where the focus would be more of public safety. Currently in North Carolina, you must be 21 years of age to get a permit to carry a concealed weapon in public. These bills would lower the minimum age of a concealed carry to 18, even though between 18 and 20 years of age, they have committed more gun homicides than 3 times more than adults from 21 years of age and older. For 30 years, North Carolina has required firearm training to include live fire exercises before the person can carry a concealed carry permit. Law enforcement experts like myself, firearm trainers, military personnel overwhelmingly agree that it is absolutely critical for people who carry concealed weapons in public to complete fire safety training. Removing these requirements and lowering the age to concealed carry is downright reckless and irresponsible. Currently, people convicted of violent crimes cannot obtain a concealed carry permit. This bill will make it easy for people with dangerous criminal histories to carry loaded handguns in public. Furthermore, Senate Bill 50 would create a dangerous honor system for carrying concealed handgun in the public of North Carolina, making it nearly impossible for law enforcement to verify whether this person carrying a handgun in public is a criminal. Plain and simple, it makes the job of law enforcement harder and more dangerous. My background makes me uniquely qualified to implore our state legislations to oppose the pending legislations of the Senate Bill 50 and House Bill 5. And I would like to introduce Reverend Dr. Copeland. She's the executive director of the North Carolina Council of Churches. Sorry.
Thank you, John. I am with the North Carolina Council of Churches. We represent 19 denominations all across North Carolina. Every city, every town, every crossroad that you can name probably has a representative from us in that place. And we are here today because some members of the North Carolina General Assembly have proposed gun legislation that places all of us in danger, even them. Imagine that. The council is calling on lawmakers to look at the facts and pass some good, safe gun legislation rather than wasting time on dangerous legislation that does away with concealed carry permits. You have heard some of the facts. Many of us have pointed to West Virginia and the awful statistical increase of homicides and suicides in that place. And remember, suicides are the #1 gun death in this country. Now we're making it easier for that to continue. A review of all the states that have relaxed concealed carry laws have shown dramatic increases in firearm assaults. Friends, we don't need more of that. In North Carolina, a state that already has some fairly high firearm deaths and injury numbers. Let me offer a different way to think about this. I believe that we have put our trust in the wrong place. We have bought into the false narrative that guns keep us safe when the catalog of statistics that you've heard here today tell a completely different story. Owning a gun does not keep us safer. Carrying a gun does not keep anyone safer. In fact, all of us are less safe when everyone around us has a gun tucked in their waistband or stowed away in their purse. Now, you know, in the movies, the bad side, we always say bad guys, but it's really all people. The bad people always miss what they're shooting at, and the good people always hit what they're shooting at. But in real life, the bad people and the good people miss more than they hit. There's a fact behind that. Even law enforcement who train regularly miss more than they hit. But shooters, good and bad, don't miss everything, right? The bullet doesn't just keep going round and round the earth. The bullet has to stop somewhere, and it could very well stop in the body of an innocent bystander. I could be that person. You could be that person. The legislators who passed these bills could be those people. We might be checking out at Lowe's one day and get hit by a stray bullet. Now, I'm bringing up Lowe's because have you ever noticed how many people carry guns around in those big box hardware stores? Check it out. Next time you're in there, look around you. You're going to see a lot of guns. Getting hit by stray bullets is what will happen when everybody has a gun and can whip it out and start shooting anytime we feel the least bit threatened or angry or just arrogant because we think we know how to use a gun. Real safety, this may surprise you, lies in knowing our neighbors, feeding them, housing them, educating them. You may think I'm Pollyanna, but the scriptures I read tell me that if we take care of people, they usually, most often, hardly ever, will resort to violence. And the truly violent people, far fewer of them in the world than we actually think, those truly violent people should be dealt with by trained law enforcement, not gun-wielding, safe-appointed wannabe heroes. We should encourage a little more community investment and a lot less gun lobby propaganda. Thank you. I'm going to introduce my friend Jessica Burrows.
I'm Jessica Burrows, a mom of two, a lifelong North Carolinian, and a campaign director for Moms Rising, the on-the-ground and online grassroots organization of more than 1 million people, including more than 47,000 here in North Carolina who live in all 100 counties. I'm here to say that North Carolina moms and families want the lawmakers we elected to refuse to repeal our life-saving concealed carry permit law. Repeal, as all of these people have shared, is a terrible idea and would put us all in danger. North Carolinians want the concealed carry permit law to stay in place. We recognize that requiring a permit to carry a concealed firearm is backed by research. That's one reason it's a tremendously popular policy. A 2023 national survey found that 3 in 4 people, or 77% of people, support laws requiring a permit to carry a concealed weapon. That makes sense. Our state's concealed carry permit law makes us all safer. Last year, our lawmakers took a step in the wrong direction when they repealed our highly effective pistol purchase permitting system, which required a permit issued with a background check by law enforcement before the purchase of a handgun, removing another system that promotes responsible gun ownership would be catastrophic. So because this press conference and the vote was scheduled so hastily, we have moms across the state, but they were unable to, on short notice, travel here. But here's what 2 moms in our state, both Moms Rising members, have to say, so I will share. From Mary Beth Cochran in Clyde in Western North Carolina, quote, "As a grandma caring for 4 of my grandkids, I'm appalled that any lawmaker would try to repeal our state's gun safety laws. Already this semester, my grandkids have gone on lockdown because of a shooting within 200 feet of their school. With so much gun violence, the world is already so scary for our kids. We can't afford to go backwards. Our families deserve to be safe. I urge our elected leaders to reject this bill," end quote. And then from one more mom, Jessica McCrory in Winston-Salem, quote, "I am a mother of 3 children. I will never forget the terror we faced in 2022 when their elementary school went on lockdown due to a shooting at Mount Tabor High School. This year, the shooting at Reynolds High School directly impacted many of my friends and their children. My children heard about it and asked if they are safe at school. How can we tell them yes and then allow more adults to concealed carry without a permit? More guns, easier access, and weakened laws will only amount to more guns in the wrong hands. My message to lawmakers is this: please vote to keep my family and yours safe," end quote. In closing, we all have the right to live, work, play, worship, and learn without fear of being shot. Lives are at stake in this legislation. The message to lawmakers from North Carolina moms is simple: do the right thing. Make preventing gun violence and protecting us all your priority. Thank you, and I would like to introduce Sam Mell, volunteer with Students Demand Action.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here, although I wish it were under different circumstances. My name is Sam Mell. I am a freshman at North Carolina State University and a member of the Students Demand Action National Organizing Board. We are the largest youth-led organization in the country fighting to end gun violence. Let me be quick and let me be frank, because this really is not complicated. Extremist lawmakers are acting in direct opposition of the will of their constituents. The majority of North Carolina supports stronger gun safety laws, and yet some politicians are hell-bent on making it easier for dangerous people to access firearms. If easy access to guns made us safer, then gun violence would not be the #1 killer of my generation within North Carolina. I know exactly what it looks like to be a responsible gun owner. I grew up in a home with guns. I was taught and trained how to handle a firearm. But let me tell you, permitless carry is everything that safe gun ownership is not. And that should terrify you. Because over 1,700 people die of gun violence each year in North Carolina. That number will only go up if extremist lawmakers, if extremist lawmakers continue to act. I have lived in Mecklenburg, Burke, and Wake counties where friends, families, neighbors, and community leaders have been taken by this crisis. This isn't some false choice. Take it from me, I get that gun ownership is popular in North Carolina, and that is okay. Respecting the Second Amendment while also championing gun safety laws can go hand in hand. That's why permitless carry isn't just bad policy, it's freaking bad politics. The majority of gun owners, independents, and Republicans all agree that permitless carry is a threat to public safety. Veterans and law enforcement also agree. Responsible gun owners support our existing permitting system because it keeps them, just like every other North Carolinian, safe. Permitless carry will make it easier for people with dangerous criminal histories to get their hands on a gun. It eliminates all safeguards that keep our community safe. Our lives depend on how we show up in this moment. The next generation of students' lives depends on it too. North Carolina has the 14th highest rate of gun violence in the U.S. Lawmakers have a duty to address this crisis in North Carolina, and we will do everything in our power to defeat this deadly bill. Every North Carolinian should join this fight and text NC to 64433 to tell our lawmakers to reject this dangerous bill. That's NC to 64433. Thank you for all the speakers here today. I will now turn it back over to Representative Clark to take any questions.
Thank you all, and to all the speakers again for scrambling, because we had to rush this so much because the Republican legislators are putting us on the defense. This is very time sensitive. So as we said, Senate Bill 50 just passed. We had 2 senators run out from the chambers to join us in support. We have 5 House representatives here. We know House Bill 5 is coming at us fast and furious, and we stand united bichamberal to support and against both of these dangerous, deadly bills. And so thank you again to all the advocates, gun violence survivors, and members from our community who joined us today. So at this point, I will open it up if there are any questions.
I would just ask about what happens if one of these bills, Senate Bill 50 or House Bill 5, is passed by both chambers, goes to Governor Stein, and he vetoes it. Republicans in the Senate have the ability to override that veto on their own within their caucus, but they don't have that ability just with their own caucus in the House. So I'm just curious if you're confident that House Democrats would be able to sustain a potential veto of this bill.
Yes, we are united in the House side. Democrats understand that this is going to risk lives. It is putting people's lives at risk. We cannot afford to lose one more person to gun violence. So yes, our Democratic caucus in the House is absolutely going to be together and united on this front to stop this bad bill.
Can I answer that question too?
Please.
Okay. She gave you the answers for what happens inside this house. But let me tell you about what happens outside this house. Today, my organization just gathered together so that we can send 60 students from Southeast Raleigh to a funeral of a 17-year-old who passed away on March 10th so they could attend his funeral. That's what happens on the outside if this bill continues to pass. we do not need to make sure, we need to make sure that younger people do not get access to firearms, period.
Great question. Any others? All right. Thank you again, everyone, for coming today. Greatly appreciate the support.